Disclaimer: I will not be explaining every story event or plot point in the Guilty Gear lore due to it being too extensive, so if you are confused about anything I mentioned in this video, I recommend watching Wooly Versus in his video series on the full game lore.
夜を歩くアサシンに快楽はあるかもしれない。あるいは映画をつかむことすら。けれど幸福だけは永劫につかめない。
なぜならば
幸福は道を選ぶことにあるから。不幸せも失敗も自分で選ぶからこその幸福だから。アサシンはアサシンの道を歩くだけ。
Millia Rage, a name that comes from the 1980 thrash metal band Millia Rage, is a recurrent character in the Guilty Gear series, with appearances in every mainline title from Mistlink all the way to Strive, granting her a mainstay status. This status is well deserved, as she remains as arguably one of the coolest characters in the series, both in design and playstyle. She wields her hair as a weapon and boasts elegant and imaginative animations, whether it be jumping off a flower of hair through the move Capel, or crafting her hair into a sword that propels her forward in the move Iron Savior, which is a really silly move when you think about it, but in a weird way it comes full circle and actually becomes really cool. These moves are a few of many examples that directly reflect her personality and goals in the Guilty Gear story, which is often ignored due to largely being irrelevant in the major story events. Millia's arc is contained within the inner workings of the Assassin's Guild, but only when you delve deeper into her backstory and motivations, it is made clear that she is actually one of the most realized characters in the series, playing a critical role in the themes of the aforementioned Assassin's Guild and what it has to say about ethics, life, and the meaning of happiness. Born in Russia, Millia was orphaned at a young age after the loss of both of her parents during the Crusades, a 100-year war between the artificial gears and humanity, drastically shaping the world before the events of the Missing Link. Millia, with no place to call home, was taken under the wing of the Assassin's Guild, which at the time was under the leadership of Zato I. This act, however, was not an act made purely out of goodwill, as the guild proceeded to mold her into the likings of a trained assassin, even forcing her body to take on the 6th forbidden spell, Angra, in order to use her hair as a weapon. This spell is one of 5 other parasitic bioweapons that give the user incredible power for a steep price, thus deemed too dangerous to use and were forbidden. In the case of Millia, what she paid is unknown, unlike Zato, who took on the 5th forbidden spell, training his eyesight in the process. These actions were all ultimately in an effort to entertain the guild's goals of money contracts that merely served to support them and them alone, which directly contradicted the altruism the guild was founded on. Millia deemed her own life as loathsome, meaning such efforts was significant pushback, even going as far as to attempt suicide on multiple occasions. Yet amidst this unhappiness, Millia began to foster a relationship with Zato that over time evolved from viewing Zato as her savior, to teacher, to lover, despite disapproval from the other members, namely Venom. But this was all on a course set to change when the guild was hired to assassinate Duke Dorian of Castelia, and subsequently King Salté I, leading the guild and the relationships of everyone within it to take a rapid downward spiral.
私の楽しみは人の生き様を見ることでね。とりわけ美しい女性には目がない。
光栄って言っていいのかしら。どんな意味で目立ったの？
若いのに修羅場をくぐっている。
幼い頃戦に巻き込まれたことならあるけど。
そのせいだろうな。のうのうと暮らす貴族たちとは目の色が違う。
妙な男、髪がざわついてる。
だがそれだけではないと思う。ミリア君、君の瞳にはこれ以上ないほどの生命の輝きがある。
お世辞にしても的外れね。生きることに興味はないわ。私が興味があるのは死よ。
よく生きることはよく死ぬことと同義ではないかね。死を思うことはすなわち生から逃げぬこと。 君たちを見ているとそう思うのだよ。
私たち？
これは失敬、若い人たちということだ。
確かにそうかもしれないわね。
君はいずれ生きる意味を見つけるだろう。私が保証しよう。
今度は占い師？
長年人を見てると多少は勘が働くものでね。
This is a scene from Knight of Knives, a drama CD detailing the events of the characters within the Assassin's Guild. It took place at the king's royal party atop a balcony before Millia assassinated the duke. Here, she was approached by Slayer, unaware of his status as the guild's founder, as he begins to make accurate reads on her current situation while commenting on the significance of life. These thoughts, Millia meets with a crude sense of naivete compared to the thousands-of-year-old vampire. This scene serves multiple purposes. On one side, it provides Millia's rather tragic view on life. She believes that someone like her will never truly attain happiness, nor does she deserve true happiness due to her time as an assassin. Death is what she believes is the more appropriate end for someone like her. On the other end, Slayer's disposition is one of hopefulness. He directly opposes Millia's line of thought, claiming it is misplaced, and notes how, despite this, she'll soon find a meaning to life that she hasn't fully grasped just yet. The conversation ends, and later that same night, Millia proceeds to successfully assassinate the Duke, only to be met once again by Slayer himself. This time, Slayer reveals to her his true identity as the previous guild's leader, and after a short fight, one which Slayer effortlessly wins, the following exchange occurs.
ミリア君、今回その男を殺した義は何だね。
義？
理由だな。世のため人のため、義なくしては始末するにあらず。それがアサシンの掟だ。
そんなカビの生えた掟聞いたことないわ。さすが先輩。
なんと。では今のアサシンは何のために殺すというのかね。
今じゃ契約は金よ。金だけ。
わかった。もう一つ聞きたいことがある。
何よ。
君は今人殺しとして幸せかね。
幸せ。
Right now, are you happy with being a murderer? These words ring inside Millia, compounding with the conversation from before. A new line of thinking begins to instill within her. She is soon captured due to Slayer's interference, and during her short captivity, these thoughts are allowed to fester within her.
幸せになりたいと思ったことはないか。
なりたい。なりたいわ。こんな鎖に繋がれて冷たい世界で死んでいくなんて耐えられない。
Concerned for her future, Slayer presents Millia an offer of freedom, as he has the ability to cut the hair that binds her to the prison cell in which she resides. Millia ponders this offer, contemplating the consequences of freedom over death, and at this moment something inside her shifted. Where previously she would have chosen death, this time she chose life. She chose freedom, declaring that her life isn't over and that she will start living by her own standards. Then immediately her hair is cut by Slayer, freeing her from the chains. This is a crucial point in Millia's story, as she starts her life anew and severs the chains that held her down, both literally and metaphorically, as this moment also serves to represent the Assassin's Guild being severed from her life, and eventually Zato himself, when the relationship between Zato and her continues to become increasingly abusive. From this point onwards, she elects to live on as a fugitive, betraying the guild twice and being the cause of Zato's eventual imprisonment. I want to take this time now to mention why I find interesting about Zato and Millia as a set of characters and how they are opposites of each other, despite the similarities in the paths they both could have taken. Where Zato willingly accepts the life of an assassin, Millia rejects it. And while Zato becomes corrupt on the power he had gained through the Forbidden Beast, Millia actively despises it. Life is not dictated by the situation you are placed in, but instead by the actions you consciously take. In the case of Millia, she works hard to overcome her internal conflicts, even if at times those efforts seemed fruitless.
幸福は道を選ぶことにあるから。不幸せも失敗も自分で選ぶからこその幸福だから。
It is important as humans to see death not as a final consequence, but rather as an inevitability. Learning to accept that although death is guaranteed, life is still worth living. If death is seen as a sweet release of life, learning to think beyond that is learning that life itself has meaning despite its untimely conclusion. Living or enduring this short time is worth it as a means to see the benefits of the actions you undertook, with present actions being what defines a person, not the struggles of the past. Now, this isn't exactly an uncommon theme in media. In fact, this can be seen in numerous popular works, like the critically acclaimed Xenoblade Chronicles series, where the characters fight to break against what was assumed to be their predetermined future. And the anime, Welcome to the NHK, which tackles existential dread and the hardships of day-to-day life for people that were unfortunately stunted by matters outside of their control. Both are wildly unique and both are notable favorites of mine in their respective genres and mediums. It is hard for something like Guilty Gear to truly contest with these stories, as it was somewhat of a mess being released, but what makes Millia's journey stand out among the rest despite this is how complete of a character she feels, layered in her personality with a realistic drive toward a single goal, and being able to achieve that same goal, tying her arc in a concise manner which not many can. Her character contrasts heavily with not just the surrounding guild members, but the Guilty Gear cast as a whole, as she is among the few who are capable of carving their own way against fate. But most importantly, you can care about Millia. Levity is what grants meaning to these darker themes, and while they're sparse, like Millia, we can appreciate these lighter aspects of life and move forward with confidence that she is doing the right thing, not only for the betterment of others, but for herself. And with that, she can truly love the peaceful life she chose for her subhuman self.
それでも生きることを諦められないから。
If you manage to stick until the end, I want to give you a huge thank you. When I first started this channel, I did not expect to gain a following to this degree, and even though it is small by YouTube standards, that is still over 2,000 people interested enough in my content to stay, and that's just so cool to think about. I myself can't fathom talking to 2,000 people at the same time. This is also the first time I ever thought about trying to make a video essay, and I was very worried about it. And mainly that it was just going to be a huge waste of time that nobody would actually want to watch, but with a bit of inspiration and encouragement from other people, I am proud of what I was able to put together. Would we greatly appreciate to see feedback on what you may have liked or disliked about this video so I can improve in the future when making more content like this. And I'd also like to add that I don't currently have a Patreon, YouTube membership, or Discord server, but if those are things you want to see, don't be afraid to let me know. With that said, I've been going on for a bit too long, so I'll end it here. Daisuke is a genius, and have yourself a good one.